Okay, we are going to make our original sourdough loaf start to finish. So I'm going to start with making the levain. Just need a clean jar and a scale. This is Mrs. Puff, my sourdough starter, and she has been out of the refrigerator since last night. It smells delicious. I keep a stiff starter. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start. I need 200 grams of levain to make my bread. Now what I'll do is I'll actually make like 220-ish because, you know, some get stuck to the jar and it's hard to get it all out. You just want to make sure that you've got enough. So I'll start with 50 grams of my starter. And then whatever's left I will feed and put back in my refrigerator. Which is not going to be a lot because you don't need a lot. That's it. That's going to get fed. 52. Alright, now I need 200 grams of levain for my bread. So I've got 50 grams here. 75, look, math, not my strong suit. Okay, I'm not an accountant. I'm a medical coder. And you can ask me about a medical disease and I can probably tell you just about everything else about it. However, math ain't math, we ain't mathing, which is why I have so many damn chickens. So, 50 grams of starter. We're gonna do, let's see, 75 and 75 is 150. So that would be equal to our whole 200. So we're not gonna do that because we need a little bit more. So let's do 85 and roll with that. We're just trying to make enough to make the bread. So this is King Arthur unbleached bread flour. 85. Oh my money. And now we need some water. And I know y'all always see me with this big jug. I just keep the jug. This is not spring water. This is just filtered tap water. I run it through my Brita and then put it up in here. So we're gonna tear that out and add 85 of water. We'll probably go over. I think I always go over. 88. Close enough. It's fine. And now we're gonna stir it up. Since this is like almost a 1-2-2 ratio, it's probably going to take about 8-ish hours to reach peak. Maybe not. It might not take quite that long. It might be more like 6. It's almost 11 now. That would put me at like having to make bread tonight. That's not going to happen because I don't do that. So I will just make bread in the morning. There we go. We got her all stirred up to where she's about some thick old muffin consistency. And she's ready to go. And that spatula off so it doesn't go down the drain. Alright, that'll get covered, go on the counter until I'm ready to make bread, which will be in the morning when I get up. Now, what we've got left here, I don't know, that's probably like 5 grams. So I'm just going to do my usual stiff starter ratio, which is usually start with like 5 to 10 grams of your starter. You add 50 grams of flour, 25 grams of water. And it's stiff. Now, let me tell you. You might have to like take it out and roll it up like a ball of dough because it's hard to stir. Sometimes I've actually broken one of these silicone spatulas trying to stir my stiff starter. There we go. Itty. And now 25 of water. $26. Pretty darn close. Stir her up real good. Scrape down the sides. Now, what I'm looking at right now, there is dry flour down at the bottom of my jar. So, I'm going to have to get her out, plop her down on the counter, and scrape that into her. And then we're just gonna knead that dry flour into it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like, it needs to be mixed well, but like, if there's lumps and clumps and whatever, it's fine. After it sits for a week in the refrigerator, it will all kind of meld together. And I'm just mixing that up the best I can. Roll her into a little ball. And Mrs. Puff is going back in her jar and back in her home in the refrigerator for a week. Now, next week when I get ready to make bread, probably Friday, I will take this out of my refrigerator, set it on my counter, leave it overnight. Well, by Saturday, she's eaten through all that extra flour. She's warmed back up. She's no longer cold. While it's in the refrigerator, it's not going to eat a whole lot because it's cold. Once it comes back up to room temperature, that's when it's going to eat, and all those yeasts are going to become more active. So we'll get her out, we'll warm her up, we'll let her chill, and then we make our levain, which is what we do the day before we make bread, or the morning of if you can get up early enough, maybe not so much. And then we'll feed her again, and we'll put her back in the refrigerator for another week. I mean, it's a cycle. Now, if you're one of those people that makes bread every day, probably not the best thing for you to do. Anyway, if you're making bread every day, you probably don't need to be watching me because you're probably better at it than I am. So this is the way I do it. This is the way my family likes to eat their bread. This is what works for us. Now, this little guy, we'll see him again in the morning when it's eaten through all that stuff and it's ready to make bread. Good night.